Awesome. We are off and running. I'm so excited to be here right now. We've got Rachel, Chris, Kristen. So excited to see you guys here. I'm excited and stoked to be here. This is actually all about you. This is going to be me interviewing you guys. I'm very excited. So let me give you a bit of background, and then I'm going to invite each of you on. And as people join, we'll make this into a round robin. The question here is very simple. So what could you share that might change the world? I talked about this in my TED Talk. It was TED at IBM that I was so excited to be able to speak at last November. And the TED Talk was called How Sharing Can Reimagine Your Future. Hi, Beth. Thank you for joining. Let's see, we're getting new people on all the time. So thanks, Steve. I think I see you. So I'm really excited to talk with you guys because we're going to talk about how sharing can reimagine your future. What could you share that might change the world? And what we're going to do is we're going to do this as a round robin. What I wanted to do is have each of you on for approximately 2 to 3 minutes. No more than 3. I'm gonna watch the clock on each one, and I'm gonna ask you each the same question. And what I'd love to hear from you on is what could you share on social, in life, that might change the world. And when I say that, I mean anything goes. It's helping people across the street. It's helping a nonprofit. It's helping in life at any level. There's Alan. Hi, Alan. Let's see. I've got Susie on. Hi, Susie. So I would really love to hear from you. This is going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be recorded, and I'm going to turn this into something viewable by everyone. So we're going to take this. This is a 3-part sharing day. I just got off a great, a really great hangout with IBM. We were talking about Shareology, my latest book, and then we're having this blab here, which is fantastic. And this is really a little bit more informal, but we're going to treat it like a round robin. So you'll have a little bit of time to tell me what you think you can share that would change the world, your world, and then tonight I'm going to be at an event, a book event for Shareology, hosted by Showdog and 10 other sponsors here in New York. So if you are in New York, you're more than welcome to come, and I can drop the link here for you. I'll get the link here, and I would love to see you tonight at the event. If you're in or around New York, please stop by. I would love to see you, but please also make sure you RSVP. That's the link. I just dropped it in to the chat on the right. So please come. Alan is on here. Alan is one of the sponsors for the event. That's Freshdesk, and one of my favorite customer service, not just biased because they're actually a sponsor, but they're such an awesome piece of software for customer service. So anyway, let's get you guys on. I'm going to open up a seat. We're going to do one person at a time. I've unlocked a seat, and I'm going to see who wants to jump on first. And you've got 2 to 3 minutes to tell me what could you share, what have you shared that might change the world. We've got Chris here first. So Chris is coming on here. Hey, Chris. How are you doing?
Up, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
I couldn't be better. Beautiful day.
Where are you at?
I live in Greenville, South Carolina, but I was born and raised on Long Island.
Oh, fantastic. So you're Long Island. So you're actually where I'm at now. So tell me, this is a round robin here. I'm so happy to have you as the first to go. And I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes, no more than 3 minutes here, if you don't mind, and then we'll have the next person on. The question is, what could you share? And you were just telling me on Twitter something you've done, so maybe you can even talk about that. But what could you share that might change the world?
I have, Brian, a story. I created a story this summer by quitting my job and traveling around the United States by myself without any sponsors to visit youth organizations in all 50 states over the course of 100 days. And I did it with the purpose of spreading as much awareness and attention for these youth organizations as possible. It was very successful in many ways. I was on the local news around the country about 30 times.
Wow.
In New York, I was on Newsday, Fox 5. I was on News 12 Long Island. And being able to tell this story in many different ways, be it through social media, be it through my website. I'm a big Meerkatter. That's why I threw the shirt on for you guys. Periscope and, of course, Blab now. I host a series of shows. But being able to even just take 2 minutes here with you, Brian, and I really appreciate your time and letting me bat lead off here, to tell that story that I took a chance to go out there and use live streaming and evangelize in many ways, introducing, sorry, I'm getting Twitter mentions now while we're going. Introducing live streaming to all of these nonprofit organizations was my attempt to change the world by trying to introduce them to these great platforms that we so often use and we take advantage of, but maybe a lot of them are not. So how's that?
That is fantastic. And let's just end it with one quick takeaway that you received. What was the benefit in hopefully a minute or less? What was your benefit out of doing that?
My benefit was getting a deeper understanding of all the amazing stories that are out there, and really seeing that appreciation when you introduce a platform and you introduce a medium to someone. I was able to see that in person over and over again in Podunk Town, Minnesota, and in Des Moines. And we talk so much about concentrating these places in New York and LA and Chicago, but for me, being out there in the country and getting a chance to introduce people who don't even own a smartphone and to tell their stories, I think that's a huge part of where we're going to all together. Everyone here in the room, especially you, to share those important, valuable stories. So, Brian, I really want to thank you for letting me go first here. Take a time to tell my story that I love telling it over and over again. Chris,
where can people find you and your story?
www.teamstrub.com or facebook.com/teamstrub. There's photos, videos, news articles, everything all about it this summer.
Fantastic, man. Congrats. That's awesome. I've been following your story. I've known about it. Thank you for sharing that here today. And I'm gonna talk to you soon. We've got Alan on here. Thanks again, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Alan. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, Brian. How are you?
Good. I had the pleasure of being with Alan for dinner last night, so I'm excited to have Alan on here. As I mentioned before, Alan is from Freshdesk, one of the sponsors tonight at the book event here in New York. If you are in or around New York, please join us. Alan and I will both be there. Alan, the question here is, what could you share that might change the world, big or small? What's your answer? So
Brian, education is a big passion of mine, and the fact that our educational system is broken, I'm a big fan of Sir Ken Robinson. That's probably how I started watching TED Talks. And about a year ago, I wrote a blog post called 3 Essential Skills for the 21st Century. And then I ended up doing a TEDx talk on the same thing. And it's probably one of the reasons why Shareology resonates so much with me, because the 3 skills are vetting, the ability to tell what something is true, to be able to search and find valid information. That's a skill that we need. The second is synthesis. Once you find it, being able to apply it. And then the third one, which kind of the Shareology, is curation, the ability to add more value and give some of your knowledge back to the world. And I feel like my kids have to own this. As adults, we have to own. These are skills that we need to own.
And so what kind of things have you done around this that give us an example?
I was part of the strategic planning committee for my school district, and they were, we had parents on the committee. There were teachers, there were students, it was faculty, and there were lots of great answers. People were talking about what should our children learn? Global awareness, foreign language, technology. But I said, there's something missing. There's certain skills that they need to be successful. They need to be able to, they have the world at their fingertips. We have a knowledge abundant society. Anything they want, they can go find, but they have to, is it true? And once you find it, can you apply it and stuff like that? So
And so, do you think that college is something that everyone must do in education? Do you think that's a must?
Do I think college? I think the college experience. I was at the New York Times Schools for Tomorrow conference, and this was actually a topic that came up because it was online learning like Coursera and those kind of things versus traditional campus schools. And there's something to having the experience of being, going to school. If you can afford it and you have the opportunity to do it, there's something about that's a unique experience at a time of life that you'll never have that opportunity again. So from that perspective, I think that it's invaluable. What you can learn, I mean, there's if you have certain skills and the way society is set up, you can go out and learn it and you can be successful without it. More so now, I think, than ever before.
Great. Well, hey, Alan, I totally appreciate that level of thinking, and if after you jump off here, if you wouldn't mind dropping the link to your TED talk into the Q&A here, that would be fantastic, so everybody can actually get a full picture of what it is that you're talking about, what you talked about. That would be great. I've opened up another seat for somebody to jump in and answer the question, what could you share that might change the world? Would love to have somebody jump in. We're doing a round robin here. Alan and a bunch of people are on here helping to share things that might change our future that I wrote about in Shareology, and we're continuing to talk about. So let's see. We've got Don on here. Alan, I'm gonna leave your video up here for a second. If you want to hang tight, or you can feel free to jump off. But thanks, man, for joining in.
Thanks for having me, Brian.
Sure.
I'm pulling over, so I'm not blabbing.
Yes, please. Don, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you jumping on, especially in the car. I will wait for you to pull the car over, because I don't want you to change the world with your car. I want you to change it with what you have to say. So, are you okay in a spot to talk now?
Yep. I'm completely stopped.
Oh, good. All right, good. So let me ask you this. Thanks, Don, first of all, for joining. Question is, what could you share? What have you shared that might change the world? And no matter as big or small as you believe, what do you believe that could be shared that could help?
One thing that I've always said since I joined social media, I guess since I was a little girl, I always wanted to do something that would positively influence as many people as possible. And my social media career, one of the things when I talk about, and I just pitched a big deal yesterday, and I just said, part of what I do is to inspire people. And so, we educate people, we inform people, but, sometimes the best thing that happens to me in a day is I'll get a comment coming back to something that I've shared on social media that says, you know what, that's exactly what I needed today. I was having a really crappy day, and that really inspired me to have a better day. And it's like, they have no idea who I am, because I'm, the voice of the business. But I've just made someone's day better. And I think that the world's got so much negativity in it with the news and all the tragedies that happen, that I think if we just shared one positive thing every day, we could change a lot of lives.
Can you imagine if everybody did that? Everybody in the world shared one positive thing a day. That would be awesome. I love that. Have you, real quick before we move? This is a round robin, so we're moving to try and get as many ideas and questions out there as we can about this topic. But what's one outcome that you have seen by doing that?
That I've had, like I said, so much of it has positively influenced other people that it actually inspires me. Like if I'm having a bad day, and I talk to people, and it's when I do some consulting with people and talk to them, and then I see that, they're posting inspirational stuff and positive stuff, and, it just seems to be contagious.
I love that. That's the thing. Like, don't you find positivity is contagious? People want to be around positive people. I completely agree. I hope that people are listening to that and we can follow through. And I appreciate your honesty and for jumping on that topic. I'm going to, we've got JS Gilbert here. So Dawn, I'm going to go ahead and say goodbye and wish you all on a really good day and wish you a positive day.
You too, Brian. Thanks.
Thank you.
Cool. So before I get on, oh, there I am up at the top now. Before I get on with answering the question, I'm going to pitch H2H Chat every Monday at noon. If it's not a major holiday, you will find me listening to the sage words of Brian Kramer as he interviews people who are a lot smarter than I am. And it's my school. I do this. It's noon California time and 9 back on the East Coast, and it's H2H Chat, and buy Brian's book Shareology, because it's one of about 3 books out there I'm recommending now. So it's an excellent book, and he's really done a lot of work at his business. And my check is in the mail. Honestly, no, I don't give a nickel.
Yeah, like Courtney said, I promise we did not pay JS to say that. Yeah. But I really appreciate you doing that. That's great.
Courtney.
Hey, JS, thank you so much. You've been such a wonderful friend and community member and supporter. And now, just to let's talk this through for a second. What could you share? What have you shared that might change the world?
I think what I do is I share people that I know who either are in a position where they are trying to share the world and they don't really know how. So I try to help empower them, or other people who maybe already are empowered, and I try to, have more people know about those individuals. So really, by being an advocate for the good guys, I think that's how I can do a lot of good in this world. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I don't have to be somebody out there who's spending all this effort to design things or create things. All I got to do is find somebody else who is, and make sure people know what they're doing and help them in any way that I can. It's what I try to do for you, or for, a lot of the other folks that I know out there that I really respect. And Porter Gale's another one that I really try to pitch and promote, because her message is so good. And advocacy is what it comes down to. You look at your book, Shareology, you look at her book, Your Network is Your Net Worth. You look at the book that Shel Israel's coming out with called Lethal Generosity. And everybody right now is all talking about, we need to be in a sharing world. Even just some of the things that are coming about this. I'm not the guy that created a $6 clay evaporative process refrigeration system that can keep new medicines to prevent malaria cold, which is what they need. But I'm certainly a guy that can help get that word out, promote it. But the other thing too is I'm very lucky that I'm at a place now in life where my income is such that I've gotten very good at writing checks. And so somebody has to write the checks as well. And I'm very, very happy when, and I don't do it anymore really to like big causes or things like that. But I really try to find people out there where $100 or $200 or $500 is going to make a difference and is going to really help it through. So, that's what I can do right now. So I'll sit here and do my work and be as helpful and productive and promotive as I can to people who have more energy than me, who are smarter than me, who are really going to make a difference. And that's how I'm making a difference. So Chris Hoyer right now has got a new, if you don't know Chris Hoyer, he's the guy that started Social Media Club, but he's got a new, Brian just disappeared. But he's got a new site out there. Gosh, I wish I could remember it. And I was very lucky that I had a chance. Joel Comm was interviewing him on Blab, and I was sitting there, and Joel had to run out, so I wound up.
Hey, JS, maybe you should go ahead and refresh,
Chris, which is nice
because your video is sticking quite a bit here. So I want to make sure that everybody's. And I've opened up another seat, so if somebody wants to jump on, we'll finish with JS, and then we can start. There we go. I think we're back.
Yeah, I'll be getting out of here in a second. Courtney likes my icon. Yeah. So Chris Hoyer is another one that I was talking about, the social media club, and just really is working on this issue as well. So, I'll just leave by saying you don't have to do a lot. You only have to do one little thing, and it will make a difference. And so, and if you're curious as to what that might be, I'm sure you can get in touch with Brian and he'll give you lots of suggestions, or a lot of the other really good people that are on here, or Kristen Cardos, who's coming on right now. So yeah, it's just great. Be around people who don't be the smartest person in the room. Be around people that are smarter than you. And then that way you'll figure out what it is you can actually do. So, and it's so nice to see you on here, Brian. Are you a blabaholic?
I haven't had, so I am, but it comes and goes in waves. I enjoy it.
The Blab people refer to this as a conversational platform, not streaming
video. Yeah, I can see that. So, I really appreciate you being on here. This is a round robin, so we're.
All right, good to see you.
Thanks, man.
No, I'm heading out. So good to see you.
I really appreciate
stop
it.
in and say hi.
Cheers.
Okay.
All right, so we've got Kristen coming on here.
Sorry,
we can get her
I figured I would refresh.
There she is. There she is. Hi, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. I love seeing you on Snapchat all the time, and now I get a chance to see you here. I know, Brian. I was just with Brian Fanzo. He's a huge fan of yours. I wanted to ask you this question. What do you think you could share that might change the world?
I think there's something I've been geeking out really hard about lately, and that is I have a lot of friends who are not in the digital space at all. They don't spend time on social media. It's just not their jam. And so I used to just kind of let everyone kind of be where they are. I spend a lot of my day online, and then I'd go hang out with people who aren't online. But lately I've been sort of bridging that gap a little bit and sharing things with my offline friends who don't really run in these digital circles. And that's been really amazing. And I'm seeing some interesting things happen with that. Just telling them about things that I learned from friends online, causes, social good type of things. And I think in the past I had discounted that they would be interested because they really don't want to be active on social media, but they're still interested in some of these things that are going on that some of us find out about first. Mm-hmm. So that's been my thing lately, is to kind of share outside the usual parameters, if you will.
Yeah. Outside the boundaries. Because, one thing is we're all on social media. Most of us that are on here are on social media. And I think Alan just mentioned this, like there are people who don't spend time on social media. And what do they share? How do they share? What are they afraid of for sharing, on social, and how can we help them maybe share more? Any words of advice there?
Just let people work within their own currency and their own values. Some of my friends, there's nothing I'm ever going to do to get them on Twitter, but they have huge, strong networks of people that are elsewhere. So when you're trying to put out good information or spread the word about a good cause or pass along ideas, you can still work within the confines of what people are comfortable with. You can encourage them, but you don't have to push. Yeah. And let them leverage things on their terms.
Agreed. Yeah, because the instant you start pushing, it's not going to happen. Exactly. I think our kids are the same way, right?
Oh, don't give me. So you mentioned Snapchat. My teenager is appalled with me.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's great talking to you, and I'm going to stick around and listen to the other
Christian. Hi, Christian. Before you go, hi. How you doing?
Hi, and bye.
Thanks so much.
Brian.
I really appreciate it.
So easy answer, buddy. Easy answer.
Yeah.
Check this out. It's funny that you even have this show today. Can you see that?
Rotary, yes. We are Rotarians together, my friend.
That's right. And, Rotary, for those of you that aren't familiar with Rotary, it's the largest community service organization in the world. And Brian, what's really cool, I think, about social and Rotary is it's a great opportunity to help share the Rotary efforts to an audience that we've never been able to touch before. I think for me, that's one of the favorite things about social. I was thinking about hitting up all the local clubs in Orange County and talking about live streaming apps and how they can use these apps to increase their membership, to share their projects both locally and globally. For me, and that's the most exciting thing about live streaming right now from a community service standpoint, and it will change the world. It'll make the world a better place. I watched the debate last night, and I'm listening to everything that's being discussed, and without getting political or, supporting either side of the fence, the bottom line is, if we had more of this on a global basis, the world would be a better place.
Yeah.
So it's kind of exciting.
I mean, Rotary's done some incredible things, like helping to solve polio in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
there's just some incredible stuff, and I couldn't agree more. That's a good answer.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I could add a little bit of value anyway. So,
Thanks,
okay, listen, you're welcome. I just wanted to say hi, Brian, and
Thank you.
Great show, and we'll tweet it out again, and good luck with everything.
Thanks so much. Thanks for sticking around.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Let's see. This next person here is somebody that I haven't seen for almost 2 weeks. The love of my life, and I'm curious what her thought is in what you think you can share. I can't wait to see what the heck answer she comes up with, because, well, I don't know. We'll see. What could you share that might change the world? Here we go. I can't hear you. Uh-oh. No sound. I'll keep you on, and I'll if you want to just check your sound, or maybe pull the earphones out of your laptop. You might have to go up to the top of the very top in the URL bar. There's a little icon that has a camera, and you might have to continue allowing blab. You can choose the microphone and the camera, and make sure the microphone is on default, and then click done. So let's see here. I'm gonna also get Jeremy on, and
hello.
There we go. So while Courtney's looking into that, Jeremy, how are you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Brian? Hi, Courtney.
I'm doing well. Doing well. Courtney is my quiet muse right now. So why don't we ask you the question? What could you share that might change the world?
Well, I would say that my gift, what I've decided my gift to the world is to share positivity with the world. There are too many people that are struggling with negativity, negative mindsets, negative thoughts, and that's just very destructive. And I've tried to help people with that. I've been an attorney for 22 years, and I've decided that, I'm not as happy practicing law as I am helping people as a life coach, as stepping in to help them and find positivity. So I'm writing a book on this called The Positivity Patrol. I'm using a hashtag on social media. It's called Positivity Patrol.
Wow.
If you search for that hashtag on any social media, I'm creating original content and curating content of others to try to lift people up. And I think that's helped me just meet people all over the world that are positivists, optimists, and just trying to get people to turn their lives around, because a lot of times we find we get stuck and we can't figure out why. And a lot of times it's the problems right between our ears, and that's a hard thing to admit. But
yeah.
I've had to make that shift myself, and so now I'm trying to make it my life's work to make that shift with others.
Oh, that's great. How have you seen the benefits?
Well, I've had people turn to me and ask for this kind of advice. How can I shift my life around in this type of thing? And so I've seen it in individuals' lives, and I've also seen it just in people, just seeing people producing more positive content. And, it kind of allows optimists to link arms to help lift pessimists up and help pessimists learn to become optimists. And that can have a viral effect with social media and all the connections we have with each other that way. So I did want to thank you, while I have an opportunity to thank you for the wonderful Shareology book and the H-Stage chat. The Shareology book was wonderful. I learned a lot about, changing things, and the H-Stage chat has just taught me so much about social media and how to relate to people better. It's really been very helpful to me and to many others.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the feedback, and I'm enjoying your answer. I love your approach on this, coming from the legal industry. You and Mitch obviously have a lot in common there. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, cheers. We'll
All right.
see you soon.
Bye, Ross. See you.
Hey, Ross, how are you doing, my friend?
What is up, Brian? Am I too zoomed out?
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Your head's this, my head's this.
You're
Do we
good,
have
man.
to get it equal?
No, I'm on my laptop in a hotel room in New York, and so I'm not on my normal studio camera, so I look a little washed out. But Ross, tell me, what could you share or have you shared that might change the world? What sharing inspires?
Well, you know me, and I think you and me in some ways are cut from the same cloth as far as being givers. And I just go and love the hell out of people and help people. And then if you spend time on yourself and you develop yourself, which almost seems like a counterintuitive answer, but actually it goes back to this thing that, yes, anybody can help anybody and should be encouraged to do that. But the more you develop yourself, the more you can also help other people. When you go out and create a great audience, you can go out and help a whole bunch of other people and give them exposure that they wouldn't have gotten, or give exposure to good things and start rewarding the good people out there, so that it's not just all of the kind of dog eat dog at the top. I got here because I stepped on everybody type of thing. I'll go up, without stepping on anybody, and then bring all of the other people up and be like, yeah, now we can crush it up here too. And, for me, the thing that I think that I would share to change the world is the same way I look at social media, is that it's less about the scalability. Like, people think about that, like, how can I go out and do X times 100,000? And I look at that and I say that can provide some change, but I really think that it always comes back down to the people. And when you can go in and do something that matters to somebody, that's the world. That is the world. Your world is when you have all these thousands of and those 50 that really are your supporters and that really lift you up, just like JS was talking about earlier. That guy is awesome, an awesome supporter. And to me, I see those people not as like secondary value. I see those people as the deal. That's the gold. The gold is all those people who engage with you, who share your stuff, who care about you and lift you up. Like, all that's, if you want to take it to sales, right? That's the trickle down. Those were the sales that made. So people ignore that and they say, oh, how do I get another 10,000 followers? It's like, oh, who cares? Because 10,000 followers is going to lead you to 10 people that actually engage with you. So it's like, go find 10 more of those awesome people in your life and love the hell out of them and help them and figure out how you can give to them. And, the rest, it'll take care of itself. People lift you up because you've already lifted everybody else up. I think that's the... I think that's the secret sauce myself in social.
Wow,
doing that. Oh, over here. You're over here. Courtney, did you get your mic working?
Man, I love your energy. That's awesome. I love it. Of course, we can't hear Courtney. So, you may have to go. You may have to go in your settings on your computer. Make sure that your audio, I think it's audio out, is chosen. So can you hear us?
Courtney's crushing us though. Look, she's got 450 props and she doesn't have sound. Now what's that say about us?
I'm kind of glad she can't
is so
talk. I can't believe I'm saying that, but maybe this was meant to be. Oh, that's great.
That is perfect.
Yeah, maybe reboot your computer, Alan said. So Ross, I love that. My favorite thing that you just said out of all of that is it's less about being scalable and about doing something that matters to someone. Can you give me an example? Have you seen something that that did that made a difference?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things, and everyone's, everyone's idea of what matters, I guess. Oh my goodness, look at Rachel's coming in. What's up, lady? Anyway, some of the things that people think are like, oh, well, I doubled my sales, or I did this and that. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. You want to know what? And I know you probably get this all the time. I have people who are like, oh my gosh, I've been following you, and you've been such a help. And it's like, and you're sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, you don't know that person that well, but they're coming to you telling you what a difference a post you made or something you did for them. You shared something of theirs that really made a difference. And it's like, I look at that and I say, you know what? I don't go out there and one of my things I do is I grow audience because I love people and I love reaching out and kind of making it make sense. But it's like, I don't do that like to just monetize and do all this stuff like a lot of people, but you go out there so that you can turn around and help people and go back to the people who are just getting started and be like, wow, if I share one of their posts out and they don't have that exposure, you can go out there and make a huge difference into them. That, sometimes it's dumb. Sometimes going and chatting with someone and liking their comment, I mean, it's ridiculous. Like, it's a small movement, and to them, they're going, oh my gosh. They look up to you or something, and they're like, man, this guy made my day. And it is making their day. And so, one thing I try and do is I try and help people get a new perspective and an outside perspective, because we can all be more. And it's kind of like a workout buddy in life. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, if you can just help someone, and you know what? It doesn't matter if they're a best-selling author or they're just getting started. You can go out there and just lift their soul up a little bit and just kind of give them a little bit of that energy. And they're going to go out and kick a little more butt today. And it doesn't even have to be something on purpose, but that's what you bring. You give, and you just give of yourself,
Well, it looks like you and I are going to have to spend more blab time because we could make a whole show of what you're talking about here. But I love what you're talking about. Unfortunately, I gotta keep going with this, and just by nature of what this is. But let's get back on a blab sometime and make this a whole topic, because I think you're onto something.
Absolutely, I'd love it, Brian.
Good, thanks, man.
What up, Rachel?
Hey, Rachel, how are you doing?
Hey, Brian, I'm fantastic. How are you?
Good to see you. I feel like we get to see each other on Snapchat, but at least now we get to talk more on Blab. We're blabbers. So what could you share, or have you shared, that might change the world, no matter how big or small? What is your thinking on that?
I think people need to share more about how they actually do stuff, like really granular step-by-step education versus theory. I think we have a lot of theory floating around, but very little actionable tips. So I think I know with Social Business Hour and a lot of the blog posts I write, it's very step-by-step, like very education-based. Like, this is how I actually do something, whether it's a tool or an activity. And I think if we all did that a little bit more, like, how do you actually do that? Everyone's jobs will be easier. They'll be happier. They have more time in the day. All about sharing those life hacks.
Give me one. Give me a life hack.
Oh, life hack. Well, if you want to stick with the super lovey-dovey, like, I think you should do something that makes you smile every morning before you start your workday. So whether it's, playing with your kid or calling a friend, that's my life hack. Like, I always have a smile on my face when I start my workday, and it really sets the tone for a productive day. So
I love that. I read this great article that my friend Janet Fouts put on Facebook. I think it was like 3 or 4 days ago, about the 6 things you could do in 6 minutes every day when you wake up. And I won't remember all 6, but one of them was that. It was affirmations, an affirmation for a full minute. And then there were other ones like, exercising for at least a minute. And then it was meditation for a minute. So it was doing these things for a full minute. And by the time you're done with the 6, you will have done 6 minutes of some intense awesomeness versus nothing and just getting in the shower. I just thought that was such an interesting perspective.
It is. I think you need to find like your own way of doing that though, because I've tried meditating and it does not work for me, but I do run every morning. And that for me, I think less when I'm running because I'm focusing on just keeping moving. So that for me is my way of shutting my brain down for enough to kind of reset. But yeah, it's finding that little way to get yourself motivated for the day for sure.
Totally. Well, for everybody out there who doesn't know, we work with Rachel at Pure Matter, and she does an awesome job. So publicly, I'd like to say thank you. You're such an incredible person to work with. The team loves you, and so I'm so glad to be not only blabbing with you, but working with you as well.
Oh, thank you for saying that. Yeah, I love your team. You've got an amazing group there.
Thank you. Thanks. Back at you. Why don't we move to Cheval is here as well. Rachel, really appreciate you being here.
No worries. This is fun.
We got Cheval here at it looks like either a pub or a restaurant.
Starbucks.
I was kind of hoping a pub or a restaurant. But Starbucks works fine. How are you doing?
Doing great, Brian. How are you doing?
Good. Are you in the witness protection program?
No, I'm not. Naina out of the house, so I'm here.
We would like $1 million in large bills sent to us. You say Cheval, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure I say your name right. I know we know each other very well online and in on the Twitter land and all over the place. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to talk. So this is awesome. My question to you is, what could you share that might change the world?
I would say be true and authentic. Always find a way to lift up people. We already have a negative media already, thanks to media outlets. We don't need you to share, to jump in on the bandwagon of sharing negative stuff. Just try to uplift people as much as you can.
Great. I love it. And where are you calling in from? Which city?
Houston.
Oh, great. Awesome. And what outcomes have you seen from that?
Well, meeting great people like Kristen Cardos, Rachel Miller, Brian Fanso, Tamara McCleary, you, your wife, everyone else who's here.
Isn't that great? And I feel like we've known each other, even though we obviously we haven't met in person, but that's the best part, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, cool, man. Really appreciate it. Anything else that you have to say? We've got an open seat here as well, but we're taking a round robin on the question, what could you share that might change the world? And this is all based on the TED Talk I did last November called How Sharing Could Reimagine Your Future. I'm curious, how could you share that would help make a difference? So Cheval, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, just try to lift people up every day. Don't. That's all I could say. Lift up people every day. Share great content that will make people better. That's all I got to share.
Well, it's a good share, man. Keep it simple, right?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Brian.
Great talking to you.
Thank you, Brian. Thanks. Have a great day.
So this is great. We've got all kinds of answers here. We've got an open seat if somebody wants to jump in that hasn't done so. We've got just about 10 to 15 minutes left, but I'd love to hear from you. What could you share that might change the world? There are a lot of different things that I have realized in my own life. About 3 years ago, and I said this in my TED Talk as well, but 3 years ago, I think it was roughly 3 years, I had a point in my career where I didn't know what I could do that would help my company. I'd managed to delegate almost everything off to awesome people and a great team, and we had great clients, and we were making lots of money. And And at the same time, I wasn't fulfilled, and I didn't know what I wanted to do in my life. So there entered social media and blogging, and I started blogging and sharing, and I started interviewing people, which was even better, which is awesome. Now we've got Blab to be able to do all this, but I never had that. And so I was videoing the interviews of all these great people. I was so excited to be able to interview people like Ted Turner, and I met people like my friend Ted Rubin and Tammy Carnazaro, and CMOs and CEOs and people in the trenches that are doing great stuff. And across the entire experience, I realized that what I was sharing, what I was writing, was something that was, really resonating. I didn't realize that, I had as much to offer as I did at the time, and it really took off. So once it started to do that, that's when my career, I think, took a change for the better, and now I'm having the time of my life. So sharing reimagined my future, and I couldn't be happier for everything that I had to go through to get to where I'm at. So here's Christian. Hi, Christian. How are you doing?
Hey, Brian. What's going on, man?
I'm good. I'm good to meet you. And
good to meet you too. I've heard you speak a few times, so good to put the voice with the face in person.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where are you calling in from? What city?
I'm in Atlanta today, so kind of like you. If I'm not in my hometown, I'm in an airport. So,
right.
I'm at my home office in Atlanta today. So,
well, good.
Yeah, can't stay too long, but just wanted to answer your question real quick.
Yeah.
One of the most valuable things I've found is to make meaningful introductions to people. I find just connecting somebody and, hey, you can help this person in this kind of way is a fantastic way to utilize your social network, especially since it's so easy just to say, follow this person or add this person as a friend. It's lost its value. So if you can actually say, this is why you two would get along, it's a great way to develop long-term relationships. So
fantastic. I love that.
Yeah. You mentioned Tammy Cannizzaro, and I've met her. I can't remember which conference I met her at, but we've stayed friends now for about 2 years, and I always like to make a good introduction for her. And she's done the same for me in the past. And you just never know where those relationships are going to go. She's gone from since I've known her, she's gone from IBM to eBay, and she knows everybody at every conference. So good person to connect with. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, tell her Christian Livier said hi. So,
well, I'm going to see her tonight. I say that Christian sends his love. How's that?
Works for me.
Cool, man.
Take care, Brian.
Hey, thanks. Thanks for joining in.
Yep. Take it easy.
All right. Hey, Brian.
What's up,
with
Brian?
an I spelled wrong. How are you doing?
I'm just glad that my box is now next to you, because I didn't like that Y was higher than I. So now we're even. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Well, for a moment there, it was good. I got to see you here a couple days back. We took a fun little picture in Times Square, and then you flew off. And so I'm missing my buddy here in New York. But hey, I want to ask you a quick question. What do you think you could share? What have you shared? I know your time has changed over the last few years. Your career has changed. But what do you think you could share that might change the world? What inspires through sharing?
I love the conversation. I was so lucky to sitting third row for your TED Talk when that happened. And it's still something I actually think about a lot. And actually, Tammy Cannizzaro was there, and a lot of the people that we were kind of referencing. But for me, I think the idea, and actually we've had a conversation a lot about really the hate and the things that go on offline and bullying, and some people just, there's just misinformation. But I think you can, for me, the power of sharing social good and amplifying, people that are doing great stuff, just because, people share and kind of get addicted to this idea of promoting, and it's very easy to hide behind a keyboard. There's lots of great people doing amazing things that people aren't aware of. And if you're able to take that message and convey it with the world, and for me, so much of that is so simple to drive change. I talk about live streaming a lot, but live streaming, gives a lot of people a platform that they might be a great musician, or they might be, there's someone on Periscope that actually donates. Every Friday, he spends all day with the homeless, helping the homeless go find a place to go spend the weekend, so they're not living outdoors for the weekend. I would have never known of that person's story, but I started watching it on Periscope, and actually what happened was he wasn't even Periscoping himself. Somebody else heard about the story, started Periscoping it, so then he started Periscoping to get people to donate clothes and things to the. But I think that's the power of sharing right there. I mean, we would have never known about it. I wouldn't have been able to help about it, And for example, I was at Times Square, and I'm on the social council for No Kid Hungry, and I love being able to do things like that where I can reach out to people and say, do me a favor, share this message, let people know that you can do great things to help a great cause. And people do it because for as much bad and as much hate as there is in this world, there's so much damn good, and there's so many great people doing great things. And I think if we focus more on that and less on the hate, the bullies and the haters, they kind of disappear. You can mute them, you can unfollow them. But I think right now we're still kind of in that flux. But that's, to me, the power of sharing. And not only does it inspire, but I think it inspires and it leads change. Because if we don't celebrate, and this is something I firmly believe in, if we don't celebrate people's wins and those brands and those companies that are doing great things, why the hell would everybody else take that risk? Why the hell else would someone, so like a great way of inspiring somebody is just sharing the great stuff. I talk about it with, someone was talking about, well, why can't we get more brands to leverage new technology? I was like, well, do we celebrate? Do we mention? Do we go out of our way to make sure people know that these brands that are doing it are doing great things and it's changing your buying journey? Or do we only find social to complain about stuff that we don't like or those kind of things? So to me, I kind of believe in that power beyond belief. Hi, Courtney.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you.
Yes.
I love it, Brian. That's so true. Just to finish on that thought before we continue on, what you were talking about, No Kids Hungry, and some really great examples there about somebody who periscoped that you learned about, sharing through finding a place for somebody to live that didn't have a home. Anything that you have shared that really, like, I'd love to know, what have you shared maybe in the last few years that you didn't realize was going to be as impactful as it was, and it turned out to be, something that really surprised you?
So I had one recently, and I actually shared it on Snapchat, only because it was kind of like a rant, and it turned into something that it's still growing right now. But I got diagnosed ADHD when I was 31 years old, and it changed my life. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, was being medicated now and kind of understanding it, and really knowing, like, that's the reason I sucked at school and had a really tough time, reading books and kind of being self-aware. But I went on a little bit of a rant on Snapchat, just letting people know, like, hey, I've been off my medicine for 70 days because I was moving across the country, and the fact that I'm getting it back on it is something that I'm super excited about. And I just wanted to share that, like, this is something that I thought I was even taking pictures of, like, my doctor appointment. And I can tell you, I don't have that many followers on Snapchat, but the amount of people that followed me and reached out and were like, oh my God, Brian, I didn't know that. And I've been diagnosed for the longest time, but I've always hid it. I was always afraid. And I was like, oh, really? And then, like, I got one person that said, the CEO of my company has always talked about how being diagnosed has really helped him who he was, and he would love to do something. So we're going to do like we're going to do this whole little it's going to end up being like an ebook side where he knows 4 or 5 CEOs that are diagnosed with ADHD, that it's helped impact their life and it's changed their world. And really, we're going to come together on like an ebook. And that, to me, was just me sharing my story, my own, I'm not afraid to admit that. And I had no idea, like, literally, I did it on Snapchat. It was like a 9-snap story with me just kind of sharing, venting and being like how excited I was that I got my Adderall, right? And, literally it's sitting there because at 4 o'clock I have to take it. But something as simple as that, like me, kind of breaking it down. And another one that jumps to mind is, and Brian, it was the blab that we were on a couple weeks ago. I don't even know if it was a couple weeks ago. And Brian Moran jumped on it as well. Yeah. And it was Adam Sushi. I would say Adam Sushi. Yeah. Like, that's his last
Adam
name.
Helwig.
Yeah. I'm like, Adam Sushi. Like, he has but like that conversation was originally about like mobile's impact on what we were doing, but it got down this real impact on like entrepreneurship and personal branding and self-awareness. And I tell you what, like, that blab was one that, Brian, you sharing, and everyone that was sharing on there, me sharing a little bit of like the side of what I struggle with and my own internal battle on personal branding or entrepreneurship, or the fact that I thought being an entrepreneur meant you had to do everything yourself and not realizing that there is an advantage of outsourcing and a lot of those things. The amount of people that have reached out to me since then and said, wow, Brian, can we get together? Because I didn't realize that you were fighting that and I wanted to be an entrepreneur. But now that I know it isn't as easy as you might make it look, I might need to reinvest that. And that to me is the true power, because we can all only celebrate our wins. We can only share great things that are happening. But I think that and I said it on stage today, like authenticity and that transparency, it goes both ways. And sometimes it's scary and sometimes it sucks, because if you're super transparent, people find out about stuff you probably didn't want to share. But if it inspires other people to either rally behind you or also self-identify, I think that is really the game changer. So those are two that really
don't you think, Brian, that really the definition of authenticity is just sharing our human vulnerabilities and being able to connect on that level, and knowing that as humans, we are not perfect. I know I'm, preaching the choir, but, we share the same philosophy, and I think that was super great. And, the definition of courage is being afraid to do something and doing it anyway. So kudos to you, man.
No, and I love it. I think that's really I've known you guys now for a while, and I think that's also an essence of what you guys portray. And I think that's also why the sharing inspires thing, really resonated with me, because I get, the question I get asked the most, and it's kind of crazy because I don't think of it that way. People ask me the most is they say, Brian, how did you get people's attention? How did you get in the circle of, the circle so quickly out of nowhere, right? Like Brian came out of nowhere. And my answer always is, I shared other people's content and listened to them, and I found ways to show I care. And the reason that whole show you care came out of it was because that was my answer every time. And I was like, well, what does that mean? I was like, well, I found great content. I shared it. I added my own insight. And I think the idea of sharing, I think so many people think like, well, if you're sharing other people, how does that do something for yourself, right? And I think people want to find people that are not only connected, but I asked this question today on stage, and it was my favorite one. I said, how many people here believe that they are perfect or their brand they work for is perfect? And no one raised their hand. The entire, 200 people in the AMA room didn't raise their hand. I said, well, great. Well, why the hell do we feel like we have to portray that we're perfect on online and social media and marketing? Like, why are we not okay with grabbing live streaming and saying, I don't know, or the best answer isn't from Brian Fanzo, it's from Brian Kramer. Like, to me, that is, and if you can just share, and, our friend Ted Rubin, he does such a great job of really, he shares his power of connecting great people with great people to do great things. So it's not always just sharing a message or sharing a piece of content. I think it's also sharing people, right? Sharing and connecting that piece. And I know you both believe that. And I think that's something that your talk, Brian, I remember, at the TED Talk was something that really resonated with me, and hearing all those other people's tweets that came out that you kind of recapped at the end of the TED Talk was like, wow, so many of these people get it and what they can share that can really inspire.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was really heartfelt to see some of the people and what they were sharing and how open they were. I remember the one tweet that got me, a little emotional was the one that said that in Africa that they wanted to somehow figure out how they could stop sex trafficking in Africa. I honestly was handed the cards immediately after that TED Talk from Courtney and Susie, and they took down as many as they could and curated them and handed them to me, and I ran up on stage and read it, and I literally read it alongside the audience. And when I read that, I was in real time with the audience, and it was just one of the most interesting things to see people sharing around the world and how emotional they were in that moment, having not been in the audience. So we've got Courtney here, and we have sound. So this is two good things. So Court, I think maybe we couldn't hear you before for a reason. So it scares me to ask you this question. And that's only because I'm married to you and I know the impact you can have sometimes on one of two directions that we could go here. Let's see what you respond with. Brian, hang tight with me. This could be a ride. What could you share that might change the world?
Duck and cover, dude. No. I'm pretty consistent, I think, in my saying it's nothing about you. Of course, it's just more about, well, yes, I could share a lot of stuff about you, but I'll save it for, after drinks involved. Although you are on the other coast, so I suppose the consequences would be delayed, so I'd have time to get out. But anyway, my platform is creativity. I'm the executive creative director of our company, and I've always believed that every single person, every human on this planet is creative in their own way. And I think that, because I have creative in my title, I've been asked so many times, oh, how do you do it? What's your process? How can you be so creative all the time? And my answer back to them is, you're creative in your own way. I mean, if they're a teacher and they're finding interesting and new ways to, find a way to connect with a child and make them understand a new concept, or if they're an accountant and not like creative accounting, but like if they're an accountant and they are finding interesting and creative ways to, rework the numbers or, deductions, that's all creativity. That the definition of creativity is just putting two things together that had not previously been together before. And it's just all about thinking about things in a different way. So in conclusion.
So Courtney, creativity is like what?
Well, if I were to use a universally relatable subject, then I would say creativity is like sex.
Interesting. Please go on.
Here's an example.
I think you have everyone's attention. Please go on.
Here's an example that I like to use.
An ADD man's looking at you going, what?
Everyone's all leaning in. For instance, you can do it solo, but it's better with others, right? What I mean by that is, everyone can be in their own head and come up with interesting ideas on their own, but really connecting and collaborating with other people is always going to give you a better outcome. So that was a choice word. Moving on. Yeah.
All right.
So that's what I believe anyway. Thank you for the platform, Brian Kramer. I'm a big fan.
I'm a fan of yours. So what we're going to close this out soon. So I think thanks Brian and Court for being here. We're just going to close out here with Cami and then we'll close the show. Please join me, Courtney and Brian, in any remaining questions and thoughts. But Cami, welcome. And what do you think, and how could you share that might change the world?
Well, I love what Courtney said about sex, but I like what Courtney said about community, really, and how important that community is. And I think that what I can share is that together you can do a lot of things, and you can beat back a lot of evil in the world too. Some of the things that we've been working on is working with making the internet a more civil place, which that'll take us the rest of eternity. So how do we do that? How do we become more responsible? How do we join together as a community to stand up against those things? And I think Brian was saying something about that a little bit earlier. Part of that, I sit on the board of Civilization, which is an organization completely devoted to that. We did a lot of stuff around Gamergate last summer, just trying to beat back some of the absolute hate and vitriol that's online. Working as a team, sitting in a group and working as a team to come back at it. And in fact, that group has continued to grow. And we're looking at ways that trolls and bullies are behaving, how they're acting. They have they have a plan. They do it a certain way. They'll bait you into a fight and then they'll delete all their tweets. They do some really amazing stuff like that. And if we can all work together and spot those things, if one person stands in that gap, they're going to get cremated, on the spot, because those guys will come after them. They'll dox them. They'll put out their information and expose them. But if we work together as a group behind the scenes, we can actually look at their tactics and start to come up with ways to get around those. And so for example, you won't get baited into one of these fights because you know exactly what's going to happen next. You see what I'm trying to say?
Oh yeah.
So it gets, I just feel like as a community, we can do so much more together.
Yeah.
And we have to be standing up against these guys and these women, I mean, such guys, right? These bullies, if you will, because if we don't stand together, then people are going to have their lives ruined, and they do every day. They do every day. You know, we are kind of charmed in some ways. I know that, Brian, you've been the center of online criticism before. I mean, we all have, right? So being at that center of online criticism is not a comfortable place to be. So often, I think what we do is we shut out all criticism too. You don't listen to it anymore because it's just a way to protect ourselves. And that's the same thing with these kinds of bullies. If you stand up against them, they're going to take you down. Or if you're by yourself, So you're not by yourself. Man. You know, we have so much more together.
That's powerful. I could not agree more. I feel like maybe there's a blab that we can do on this topic specific to it. I know we've all
Andrea wrote the book, who's at the head of Civilian Nation. We should really pull this together. I would totally work on that with you.
Would you please email me, and I'd like to set that up with you? This sounds like a phenomenal topic, and I'm sure Brian and Courtney would love to participate as well. We've all kind of had this conversation at one time or another.
Yeah, and there's other people that are involved in it too. We're going to be talking a little bit about it tomorrow in a lab, tomorrow afternoon at 2 Central, 3 Eastern. Amy Vernon is going to come jump in on with this too. But I'm just really excited about doing something about this rather than complaining.
I could not agree more, and please include me in that. Unfortunately, tomorrow I'm on a plane at the same time as your blab, so I think FDAA rules would probably.
You mean FDA? Those basic rules, they're killing.
I hope that you're not meeting the FDA at the airport, because then I think DEA will show up.
DEA. So, hey guys, let's close this out. We're running about 7 minutes over, but I think if we couldn't just do a quick round robin, you guys have all been listening to what other people have had to say here. Just real quick, what's one thing that maybe you heard someone else say that you're going to make a mental note of, and you heard what sharing inspires, how sharing could inspire and change the world? What's one thing that you heard from anyone here that made a difference this hour together? Courtney, you want to go first?
Sure. Nothing like getting put on the spot. I can't remember who said it. It was in the very beginning, a woman who was talking about positivity. And I think that
Kristen, I think.
Was Kristen?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
I can't remember who it was. I'm so sorry. I was going up in the comments.
Kristen or Dawn? Kristen or Dawn?
Okay, Kristen. Oh, I think it was Dawn.
Yeah.
It seems like such a simple concept, but people forget. And I'm so guilty of it myself. It's sometimes much easier to go to a dark place than a light place, and it takes more work to go to a light place, but it sure is nicer when you get there.
Yeah. Amen to that. Cammie, how about yourself? Anything that you've heard along the way here that made a difference? One takeaway from the hour? I think maybe my audio is probably on delay with her. Yep, she lost audio. Brian.
No, I liked what Cammie was saying about, together kind of understanding and studying, what trolls are, and really kind of sharing the power of educating everybody to help out, across the board. To me, that's kind of the advantage, right? I mean, we get, and it's Tim McDonald who I said it for me a long time ago, was like, everybody wants to make big change, right? We all want to, but if we each do our own little bit and change our own little bit, together we drive amazing change. And I think too often we look at the big picture and we try to move the mountain rather than moving the little spot. I mean, and I love this conversation. Like I'm doing that keynote for the Periscope Summit, and the title is "We is Greater Than Me." That's what I'm talking about. And it has nothing to do with Periscope. It's about the power of community and the belief that I believe in the power of live streaming. Yet we're living in this world where it's a me, and how do one person be better than the other? And yet to me, I believe that, kind of that whole sharing where there's so much money to be gained and so much fame that go around for everybody. But if we don't work together to help celebrate each other's wins, and it's kind of the same way, if we don't work together to kind of help understand bullies or trolls. Like I love Blab because I've had a troll in here and I challenge them, get on video, come on in. I would love to hear, and it never happens, right? All of a sudden they disappear. And to me, it's like, oh, you can hide behind your keyboard. And I think that's part of the reason they can live on Periscope and they can't live here. But I love what Cami was saying, that we could all do our own little part to better understand even the habits, so that when it does happen, we can, not only document it, but can kind of help support each other, so that if someone gets taken apart or picked apart by a bully, we all see that together and like reach out to them and say, hey, I know they deleted their tweets, and I know it might look like you're the crazy one and no one believes you, but we saw it too. And together we can kind of make, help people kind of inspire to lead that change. So that would be mine.
Brian, are you saying that you can do it solo, but it's better with others?
I love yours. That was so true. that you spot on, Courtney. Well said. And it's the one I'll remember, right? It's the one we'll remember more so than anything else.
Hey guys, and to everybody in the community, just before I close out, I'm curious if we were to do this as a weekly, I don't think we do the same question. We'll do a different question every week. But I wanted to ask, if we did this every week and we'll pick a day and time and do it as a weekly thing, and we'll do one question and we'll discuss that question. It could be trolls like we're talking about. It could be other things. Would you guys be up for it? And if you are, just give me a quick, just a quick comment there, and I'll know that this is something of interest. Or Brian, you're smoking something. If you feel like we shouldn't, I'm happy enough. But it looks like we're getting some good comments there. So all right, we'll make that happen then. And so Courtney, everything here is reversed. So eat the other side of your screen. There you go.
You gotta fix that. It's tough.
You're now eating Ross. He said he is the tastiest. Okay, well, that is how not to change the world. But hey, thank you everybody for being here. Brian, Courtney, thanks for closing out with me. Ross, Kristen, Patricia, Sandra, Nikki, Jeremy, let's see, Kevin, trying to go back up here, Joshua, really appreciate it, Avalura, Nikki, and Cami, awesome stuff. So Peter, everyone, thank you so much, really appreciate it. I'm glad that we could all talk about how sharing inspires, and this recording will go up. And we will see you again. I'll set this up as a weekly. I'll let you guys all know when it happens. Thanks again, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.